Hi, this is Joseph Curry, and I am the host of the Labar Media Podcast. And on today's episode, we're talking to Aphua Larbi. So, Aphua is a producer and also a writer. She works in I guess you can say, the media industry in Ghana. She does quite a number of things, documentaries, advertisements, shoots, things like that. So, on today's show, I just wanted to just discuss with her about, the Ghana movie industry and just the media in general. Like, are we growing as an industry? Because it's interesting when you compare our industry with maybe Nigeria, South Africa, and what the big names like Netflix are doing there as well. So we just want to have a quick conversation, just discuss that and see, what's happening in Ghana, basically. So hope you enjoy.
One, two, three, four.
Okay, and welcome to another edition of the Labari Media Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph, and today I have my guest, Aphua Larbi. Hi, Aphua, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, and hello to everybody.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking basically about, we're going to talk about Ghana and just the industry in part, especially with media, like TV shows, movies, things like that. So I wanted to get you on, just ask you a couple of questions since you are in the industry. Like, what would you describe yourself as? Like, would you describe as a writer, producer? What would you describe yourself as?
I am a writer producer. For the past year, I've been working mainly as a producer. Well, I write on the side, but I mostly work as a producer and or fixer.
And what was the last one?
I sometimes work as a fixer. So a fixer basically is like a line producer, but you help like when, especially in Ghana now, like foreign crews, foreign productions come into the
Hmm.
country. So when they come into the country, you help them sort out permits, location. If they need cast, you do cast, just so that the production goes on smoothly in the country.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the fact that more foreign crews are coming into Ghana to film and all that. But I wanted to focus more on the local side first.
Okay.
I think we have a kind of a deficit when it comes to like producing, good content in the country. I think, well, maybe from my perspective. What do you think the issues are when it comes to like producing, local TV movies and films?
I think that over the past couple of years, well, recent like 5 years, we've always had like good content, but the thing is about visibility of content.
Hmm.
Like in Ghana, we only have two cinemas or three
Right.
cinemas, right? And the TV stations, unfortunately for us, don't really invest in like local content, or the local content they invest in are things that a lot of people do not really watch, or there's content they invest in, or the TV shows are mostly foreign because they are cheaper to license. Because if you want to
Mm.
license uh, shows from India or Philippines, they are way cheaper than licensing shows or putting money into producing stuff from Ghana. So there's always been good quality shows, but then because there hasn't been where like the visibility, eyes on it, you know the leadership to be like, okay, this is the leadership and the structure of it of like, okay, this is where we want to go to, say, as a country, as an industry.
Mm.
So this is the sort of things that we want to see, because whoever we try to model our industry as, they have like a clear case. That's why maybe if you watch any TV show in, say, in America or the UK, there are like five police shows, five medical
Mhm.
dramas. Yeah, because there's a target of saying this is where we want to go to, but we haven't had that sort of structure. So
Right.
everybody does what they want.
Why do you think the structures are not in play? Because I mean, I think we have like, I think there's NAFT and there's other like local players in the market. So why do you think we don't have that structure yet?
I mean, now the NFA is trying to bring sense to like the whole chaos in the film industry, but they're just one body, and there isn't a lot of transparency, or as much transparency as I think people would like. because I've been to a couple of their events. I've listened to them speak on like the industry, but it kind of seems very much restricted to if you know, you know, and it's not
Mm.
being opened up to other people that explore different genres because it's still based on okay, you have to shoot like a movie or a music video. I mean, a movie or a television show, and those are important. But if we look at like the next generation of directors coming up, next generation of producers, they're mostly doing these shots like they do the commercials, they do the music videos because it's easy to cut your teeth on these projects. It's easy to find your voice when you're doing a music video. It's easy to find your voice when you're shooting a commercial, and so and that in itself has its own its own ecosystem, and I think that in a way we have to find a way to translate that into the larger stories because shooting a commercial, shooting a music video is way different than shooting a television show or shooting a movie because it takes more money, more logistics, more planning, and you can't like if I've planned a 1 day commercial. We just shot a commercial. I've planned a 1 day commercial, and the thought and planning that goes into it is very different from planning a 2 week project, and it's very different from doing a 4 week project. And it has to be like different people with different expertise because I have come to understand that you can't do everything by yourself, and trying to do it is what is hampering us. A lot of collaboration that people are collaborating, but it's mostly within the industry. Like, or a director, instead of it being like across industry, someone who is like a lawyer who's interested in film, there's transparency in money. It has to cut across so that it makes sense for people to actively participate in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I want to talk about as far as challenges, working together. And also just talking about, collaborations, because it seems that there's a lot of like limitations when it comes to, camera equipment, working with studios and the tech support and legal and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what's the issues when it comes to like maybe like getting cameras to rent, getting studios, equipment, things like that?
Okay, so right now, um, hmm, right now there are equipment in the country, so it's not a matter of there are no equipment. There are equipment in the country. There are people who know how to use these equipment. However, it's the cost.
Hmm.
But also, I feel like, especially for an industry that is still finding its steps in Ghana, we have to find a way to make the cost work. Once again, it has to be collaboration. But I think that in its base, it has to be a sense of why we are doing this and transparency. Because I've realized that in Ghana, across any kind of business, be it whatever business, transparency hurts the business because it kind of feels like, wait, if we said we don't have money, and if there's an influx of say $50,000, people feel like that there's no transparency on the $50,000, and instead of the money coming into the project to bring the project forward, then it fizzles out because everybody feels like they are being cheated out of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically it's become more of a like a not trusting each other as far as, working together. Is that the issue at the moment?
I feel like people need to find a way to trust each other, and I mean, you don't have to be friends to trust each other, but you have to have a sense of like, okay, this person, we might not be the best of friends, but when it comes to business, this is where it's going to we get have a way, because the thing is that in Ghana, it's not as expensive to produce. It's not as expensive as it is to say produce a movie anywhere else, but it's also expensive. I don't know if you get it. Like,
Like what numbers are we working with when it comes to expenses, for instance?
okay, so in Ghana, it costs the same to rent a camera as anywhere else.
Hmm.
Like, if you want to rent a Red in Ghana, it costs say $500. As it will,
Right.
I'm just ballparking like here, $500, $600 as it will cost to rent a camera in the UK, say a cinema camera a day. But
Right.
the things that work in the UK is that they have things like, oh, if you're renting for a 10-day shoot, or if you're renting for a 7-day shoot, or a weekend, you're able to do deals. So if it's say for 10 days, you'd rent it for 6,000, but they give it to you for 5,000. And it's also because like
Okay.
there's stuff like insurance, like insurance companies understand the industry, so they take out insurance on the stuff. But here in Ghana, even getting workman compensation for internal productions is stressful because last year I had a production where I had to take out insurance for the crew and I had to explain into details on why I was taking the insurance, explain that the people that we are working with, they are not salary workers. We work per project. So I can't take out an insurance every month on them. So it was stressful, but I was able to communicate and take out insurance. So from last year till now, every production I take out an insurance for the people, for the crew, just so that when something happens, we're able to offset it. But at
Do
the
you
same
think?
time,
Yeah, go ahead.
but at the same time, how many people, like a lot of people see that as waste. Do you get it?
Mm,
Because it's like, why would I bother to take out insurance? It's not necessary. But I found that is these structures, when you put these structures in place, it makes sense when money starts coming in because you know that okay, so when I was paid say $100 a day, I paid insurance of say $5. So now that I
mm.
get $1,000 a day, I'm paying a $50 insurance or something. But it's so my point is we have to figure out a way to put structures in place, structures that work for us. Because I'm not going to say that okay, look at how Hollywood does their structures, or look at how the British do their structures. I feel like in Ghana there are unique solutions that will work for us. So that's what we need to look out for instead of trying to take everything carte blanche and put it here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the structures in place. So how does even the legal field work? Because, when it comes to, let's say, you're trying to draw up a contract, the terms, do you think that that legal structure is in place in Ghana at the moment?
There are people that are putting it in place, but right now it's also because of the industries that thrive. The
Mm,
music industry is thriving in Ghana.
yeah,
Is
right.
it where we want it to be? Not really, but we can sort of see where if we put our energies to, it can improve. So there are lawyers there that can look at their deals, especially because there are all these distribution deals and recording
Hmm.
deals. So they are looking at it. But for film, it is diverse because now you have to do image rights. And how many years is it for image rights? And are you going to be paid? You get like it's so
Yeah.
complex and intricate. And because in Ghana people are trying to figure out if we should do are you paid and that's it, like one and done, I'll pay you 50,000 and then
Mm,
that's it, you don't come to me anymore, or it's going to be like I'm going to give you a little bit, but anytime you sell the movie or anytime you sell the TV show to someone, you get some out of it. So these are all considerations that I feel like we should all be looking at doing so that we see which one works for Ghana.
yeah, that's interesting. It looked like we still don't have those structures in place because, for instance, we know that I think somebody mentioned it that they're trying to film the sequel to Girl Strip in Ghana. So, for
They're trying
instance,
to
if
what?
film the Girl Strip sequel.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so for instance, if they want to now come to Ghana, for instance, like what are the challenges they're going to face as far as, getting permits, getting access to certain things to even start filming?
Honestly, it would be easier for them to shoot in Ghana because they have money too. They'll get a local fixer. I mean, hey, they should come to my company so that I fix for them. But they'll get a local fixer, and the local fixer will just they'll write they'll apply at the NFA for a film permit, for a crew permit, and cast permit,
Mm,
which it will all be added to the cost, and then there'll be location permits depending on where exactly it is they want to film. Looking at a film like Girl Strip, they'd probably want to stay at say Kempinski, they'd want to do Afrochella, they'd want to do say any of the
mm,
December, because I have a feeling it's going to be in December, but they're
yeah.
going to do any of those December parties and events, and it's going to be really easy for them because first of all, it's going to be Will Parker Entertainment, it's going to be Girl Strip. People would literally open the doors for them to be like, oh my goodness, I want to be like in the Girl Strip because it works. It's a quid pro quo because even as much as they're going to be
Mm,
paid for it, it's also going to help elevate their brand. Because if Afrochella, sorry, now it's Afro Future, if it's featured
yeah.
on Girl Strip, they will be paid for rights to film there because obviously people are going to be there because you have to tell them that hey, we are filming you for this. So there has to be a broadcast release where people know that they might appear in Girls Trip. So there might be that. There would be all these releases you have to sign with people. But at the end of the day, Afrofuture will see that, okay, in a year's time, people would see Afrofuture. They'll see that, oh, it's a banging festival. So they would make a date to come. So I feel
Right.
like Girls Trip filming in Ghana is going to be really easy. I don't see how the only impediments they would face would be traffic, would be cost, because we are in Ghana. We've seen how the cost of things have been rising over the past couple of months. So that's what they're going to face. They're going to be shocked by how much things cost. I feel like that's the one thing that will really shock them.
Okay, so that means most of the issues are relating to money, like just getting permits. You have to pay a lot of money to get a permit. So that means
Yeah.
like how does the future of the local filmmaker work? Because how are they supposed to secure like these, I guess, large amounts of money to even film their projects?
I Okay, so in Ghana, a lot of people source for money from friends and family, from like their day jobs, because if you want to do, I know a lot of people who, when they do a film, they either go to Silverbird
Hmm.
or lately they go to Aquaba Magic.
Yeah.
So it would be like, okay, so we have a film for you. How much, like, okay, if you want to be a part, a co-production, how much do you think you are willing or able to support? So if, say, I mean, I'm going to spit out the numbers here. They are not accurate. Somebody should use this for how much things
Hmm.
cost. So if Aquaba Magic says, okay, we can give you 50,000 cities, but you get 2 hours,
Hmm.
you can use that assurance from Aquaba Magic to then go and solicit for sponsorship. So, because you can go to say
Hmm.
MTN and be like, okay, MTN, I have 2 hours at Aquaba Magic for a movie. And this is the story, this and this and this. How do you think you can come on board? And MTN can be like, okay, we will give you X amount of money plus access. Then you leverage on that and say, go to Belacqua and tell Belacqua, okay, Belacqua, I have Aquaba Magic, I have MTN. We are doing this movie, this and this and this and this. This is how much it costs. Then so Belacqua can decide to either give you products or give you
Hmm.
money.
Yeah.
So in Ghana, that's how you have to like leverage everything you have, so that by the time you are able to go talk to say 10 sponsors, and you come back and you have like say, okay, I was able to get 300,000 CDs for this movie. Plus, I have an assured 2 hours for my Kwaba Magic. And if the movie costs 500,000, the rest of the 200,000, you have to like source your own money to do it or find
Hmm.
further financing. In Ghana here, I don't know if any banks gives loan for movies, but in
I
America
don't
they
think
do.
so.
No, I don't think so, but in America they do. So you take out a loan for the movie. When the movie comes out, you sell it, make the money back, pay who you have to pay, and then see how much money you made out of it. But a lot of time people don't make profits.
Hmm.
They don't make. I don't. They don't, not. I don't think. I know they don't make as much profit. It's lately that now Peter Sedofia, I think Kothas, Shelley from Pullman. So obviously they make profit out of it, but it has to. It will always go back into the next projects, because you always want to be like top of mind awareness, to be like, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm still making movies, just so that you be able to push and push
Hmm.
and push. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even that's interesting because I think the last, well, that I can remember, the last movie that was local movie was I think an Eva Nelson movie because I know she has her own production. So I'm guessing she does the same thing you said, getting sponsors, getting loans or friends and family. Because
Yeah.
then if that's the case, then why even try to do it if you're not even making profit? What's the long-term goal?
Yeah, I mean that's so the long term goal in Ghana. If you look at like the movie industry in Ghana, everybody that was making movies. If you watch like I Told You So, if you watch the Road to Correcting Me, all these people made movies because it was something that they love to do. I mean, still there's love to it, but there's also a certain kind of understanding that okay, we need to make money out of it.
Yeah.
So and also it also depends on the individual filmmakers. Like what is enough? Someone will make a 5 CD profit and feel like, hey, this is amazing. And to some other person, they make 10,000. It's like, ugh, this we did not make any money from this movie or from this TV show. So it all depends on what your goals are.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so even talking about making money, I know there's, the whole thing with the American industry, movie industry, the SAG, the writer's strike, all that stuff. So even
yeah,
when we think about even our context, right now, we know the movies come out in Ghana. They go to like Silverbird, local cinema, things like that. But is the industry focusing on the streaming aspect? And if they are they also thinking about, making extra money, like residues, like what the writers in America are complaining about? Are they even looking into that aspect as far as streaming?
in Ghana, or you're talking.
Yeah, just in Ghana, like, because I've seen some movies, Ghanaian movies, appear on Netflix, some appear on Aquaba Magic, some appear on Showmax, but are they making money? Are they, doing deals to get residue payments from these, big companies?
I think so. So what I know, I don't know about the people doing the original shows for Aquaba Magic and Showmax, but I do know about the people that gave their movies to Netflix because at that point they are just licensing the movies. Because if you look at a movie like Side Chick Gang, it came
Yeah.
out a couple of years back. It was in Silverbird for a while, and so
Hmm.
they just licensed it to Netflix, and that's an additional revenue stream. Now,
Hmm.
once again, I don't know how the contracts for movies go in Ghana. I don't know if it's a one and done thing. So like you were in my movie 2 years ago, so that's it. I don't pay you any more money if I get more money for the movie.
Yeah. Well,
That's the thing. Like I've been trying to figure out how actor contracts work in Ghana, and I still haven't seen any of it. So I think that so in Ghana, and because of those kind of loopholes, that's why streaming that's why streaming services that are not based in Europe and America kind of have a leeway. Because if you see the contracts they do with like the South Koreans, with the South Africans, with the Nigerians, they kind of seem like a lot of it feel like you're paid up front and then that's it. It's like it's a one and done. And so they give you like a lot of money up front and then forget about you. And then that's it.
hmm. I'm saying we can assume that, most of the movies are appear on Netflix, Showmax. Sometimes we can assume that most of it might be a one and done, then, getting residues from the streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. I genuinely feel like those ones are one and done. Because for some of them they are paid per episode. So if you are paid for an episode, once again, it all depends on the contract. Like, is this a Showmax original? So which means that it goes nowhere than Showmax, which for me has always been like my personal gripe about streaming, even before like the whole writer strike and the actor strike, because it felt like streaming felt done. Because once your movie or TV show goes on streaming, it goes nowhere else. Like, what happens if you can't access Netflix? What happens when you can't access Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
And Paramount Plus isn't even in Africa. Paramount Plus is, I think, isn't even in Asia. So for me, streaming always felt very myopic because if a movie comes out and a TV show comes out and the TV show is only found on Netflix, I mean, sure, Netflix has the most numbers. So a lot of people say that, oh yeah, it makes sense. But if you think about how all the TV shows and movies of the past worked, they had DVD releases.
Yeah.
So if with that had like the director's cut, it had the extra scenes, it had all those little things that made it worthwhile to buy a DVD set. Now we don't have that. And I don't see Netflix releasing like a bloopers reel onto their service or on like doing that anytime soon.
Hmm.
And that's even for like the established, that's for like Hollywood, and that's why they are doing all this fight about it. So I wonder, like I look at Ghana and I feel like if we don't, especially Ghana, because I'm in Ghana, if we don't put the steps in place, if we don't put the structures in place, we would wake up one day and feel like, hold on, we haven't been treated fairly, but at the end of the day, we would have signed a contract anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the industry is still, I guess, getting better over time. But then if we don't look into these, new industries or new platforms, I don't know how it's going to go. Because, for instance, if somebody decides to, like, let's say a local TV network decides to take a movie from Justin Demas and put on TV, does Justin Demas get extra revenue, or is it just that she was paid up front, so now she's not getting to see any revenue from her new movie playing on TV now?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for Jocelyn Umar, she would get additional revenue because it's her face, it's her name. She's quite popular, so for her, she would get additional revenue from it. Yeah.
Hmm. But what do you think about maybe the local streaming platforms? For instance, I know that I think Shirley Ann Manson has her own platform that she kind of puts her movies and stuff there. Do you think that might be the trendy way to go? Because again, what if I can't access Netflix? Maybe I can access a local platform to kind of view these movies and TV shows.
Okay, I know she has one. I know Farmhouse Productions have one. Personally, I do not think I don't know the business model for it. I don't think they are great ideas. I felt like if they wanted to do that, they should have all come together and been like, "Oh, we are doing a blah 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 platform for movies. So if you want to see the latest movie from Shirley from Pomaso, from Farmhouse, blah, they come here." But then I also think about money and how money would be a problem, and I understand why they each decided to do their individual platforms. But I feel like already there's too much. Like there's too much where people have to do. Like people have to go through. Like people are comfortable with Netflix because they know that okay, with a click I can do that. And so if they're going to do like their own platforms, it has to make sense. It has to be worthwhile. I mean, sure, it is worthwhile, but like how many platforms do you really want to go to? Because if say Shirley Frimpong, so she hasn't had a new movie or a new show in a
Mhm.
while, that it wouldn't make sense to still be paid to subscribe to it because like there's nothing new on there. But if there are a bunch of different ones, like a bunch of different directors, a bunch of different producers that have formed this platform, then it kind of feels like, oh, every time when you go there, we see something
Yeah.
to watch. But that's because in Ghana, I feel like we need to explore different distribution channels. Like Silverbird is great, but maybe we should figure out how to do distribution better. Like, will we do a school to school tour with the movie? Are we going to do, if the movie is about God, are we going to do a church to church movie viewing where people will pay some amount of money to watch? Like, I feel like we need to explore different revenue models just so we can make it work.
Hmm. Well, so it looks sound like it's a lot of work left to do in the industry because I mean, yes, Ghana has become a destination for outside people. I know, what's his name? Odos Alba said he wants to establish a studio in Ghana. People are talking about establishing things in Ghana, but I think there was a recent comment from I can't remember her name, but she was on a panel talking about the industry and saying that Ghana, as far as filming, the government wasn't being as open, so they had to go to like South Africa, where it's much better to film things like that. Like, what are the
Yeah.
challenges left, like, to face an industry? Like, what do you think our problems are, and how do we get them fixed?
Honestly, our problem our problems are many. How we get them fixed has to be top down, up up top. Because top down there has to be policy. You know how yeah, yesterday or like a couple of days back they were talking about the fact that oh, if you are a business owner, you get like a 5 year tax holiday.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't work in Ghana. I've not met anybody that has gotten a tax holiday. And so if you're not a lot of people who do movies are not registered business owners.
Hmm.
And so it has to be drummed up about the fact that look, you have to be a registered business owner so that you can have access to certain opportunities, have access to certain doors, have access to certain spaces. So from the top down, and then it has to look attractive to them. Like, okay, so if I'm going to register my business, I'm a film business, what sort of tax holidays do I get? If I import cameras, do I get my cameras import duties waived for me?
Hmm.
Do I, all these little things have to be put in place because right now importing stuff into the country is so expensive. So it makes it difficult for people to bring equipment into the country because if they're going to bring whatever, like you're going to bring like trusses, they're going to bring like robotic arms, they look at
Hmm.
the import duties and it just feels like a lot because you look at that and you look at wait how many movies how many times do I have to rent it out to make my money back will the people even in Ghana be able to afford it like all these little questions and things that have to be asked and that have to be put in place has to be put in place and for the people I feel like collaboration is the way to go like
Hmm.
honestly I feel like a lot of people should collaborate more look to collaborating with people from other African countries even because like Ghana is small in terms
Mhm.
of like revenue structure. Ghana is small. So if we could find a way to genuinely like not collaborate, like, oh, this is an actor. No, like even behind the scenes, like you have a Nigerian producer, a Ghanaian director, a Nigerian producer, Ghanaian. It has to be intentional. We have to be intentional about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's interesting. But so wrapping up, I had like one last question. I think last year you were involved with the Global Citizens, like the music concert. I think SZA came
Yeah.
to Ghana, Usher came to Ghana. Why don't you just talk about your experience with that? Just working with that crew when they came in and everything, how it went down, and what were your experience like?
Okay, so during Global Citizen, a company was contacted online, which is all like we were contacted on our email, but then it was also on Instagram.
Hmm,
So it was like, okay, hey, we are doing this documentary roundup thing for ABC News and for Hulu. So we need you guys to like shoot it for us. So then it was just a matter of having meetings on like just have meetings, do the structure for it, and then and what you realize when you speak with people who work in America is the fact that everybody in Ghana can do the same work that they do,
right.
but it's just that they have like more structures in place. They are more meticulous in how they do the leadership board, the organizational chart. So if you are say director A, you have to go through this person and that person and that person, and each person is supposed to be able to direct your concerns before it gets higher up. So that's it. So during Global Citizen, we had to film the behind the scenes. Then we had to film the intro for Deny Gurira's intro for Global Citizen. But because I think we went to the Independence Square 3 times before the actual production, and it was a lot of Ghanaians on the ground working, like a lot of everybody that came together to make it work were Ghanaians. And I think that same thing. I remember when Global Citizen was over, everybody was talking about the fact that this is what we need in Ghana. And I was like, yeah, this is what we do need in Ghana, but it's also about people being intentional and also not being afraid of not being liked. Because a lot of foreign crews, they'll tell you what they need and they're not going to see, oh, how do you take it? No, it's like, no, we need 15 buses. And
Hmm,
all you have to tell them that, okay, 15 buses is not possible, where you can get 10 buses and two 4x4s. And then you find a way to fix it. So I feel like in all, we have to put our cards on the table. Personally, I feel like everybody should put their cards on the table. Be honest. It's business. So you're always going to look out for yourself, but put your cards on the table, see what's possible, and then strive. Because once you accomplish something that's small, then you can move on to do bigger projects and handle bigger money. So that when the door actually opens for you to have like say a $5 million movie, it doesn't feel overwhelming because you've
hmm.
tackled like it's in stages.
That makes sense. So with that
Yeah.
success of that, so what do you say the key lessons you learned from that experience that you think can be applied locally?
Document everything.
Hmm,
Global Citizen, we did Global Citizen. We also fixed the Deborah Union documentary. And the key thing for me is document everything. Like no matter how unimportant you think it is, document it. Because some way, somehow, if something goes wrong, you would need to prove that you knew what was happening. So that's my thing. Like document everything. Always have a line of communication, no matter how silly you think it is. Always seek clarification because the people that you're going to work with, but the people that are around you, we are all working together to achieve the same goal, which is having an amazing time, doing an amazing project. So always document everything and always, always, always seek clarification.
okay,
Yeah.
that's good. So are you guys going to be working with some of the big name people this year as well? Because I think, the year returns back again, so I think there's going to be a lot of noise. Are you guys going to be working with some of these people again?
Don't know. We're in August. I have no idea. yet. I mean, we just shot a commercial for a Ghanaian brand, but we just shot a commercial, and that was really interesting because now we are starting to see a lot of like Ghanaian brands embrace different types of storytelling.
Hmm.
Hopefully, it doesn't become like a one and done. It becomes like, okay, this is what's possible, so let's do it. And I hope that's what we are able to do. But for this year, I know fingers crossed that we're able to be part of certain projects and see how that pans out.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, hope it works well. I mean, it sounds like we have a lot of work to do in the industry, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Ifwa, thank you very much for joining. We appreciate you
Oh,
coming on.
okay. Thank you too for having me.